From the acclaimed Both Sides magazine and the Both Sides Live Forum comes the all-new BothSidesMag.com, where thinking people click. Each month, we'll have celebrities and public figures give their thoughts on trending topics. Then leading experts speak out on both sides of the issue. BothSidesMag.com will share the truth in a culturally relevant way and help you balance opposing views in a light of biblical faith. BothSidesMag.com builds a bridge in our divided society. It's BothSidesMag.com, where thinking people click. So click on BothSidesMag.com.
Welcome to a special edition of Grace for Today. Today, Dr. Derek Grier is sitting down with Dr. A.R. Bernard, founder and spiritual leader of Christian Cultural Center in New York, to discover the key to unlocking real and lasting happiness. Dr. Bernard explains the wisdom found in his new book, Happiness Is, which teaches you not to worry about the things you can't control and instead to live a principled, purposeful life. Stay tuned for an eye-opening exploration of the joy available to us all, right here on Grace for Today.
Grace Church, real people, real lives. Grace Church, real lives, real change. Grace Church, real people, real lives, real change. Real people, real lives, real change.
Let's talk about the big picture. What is happiness?
Happiness is a state of mind. It's a way of living life that revolves around a simple principle that true happiness is internal, not external.
A choice.
Absolutely a choice.
At the end of each chapter in your book, you give us an action step. Why are action steps important?
Because the book is filled with principle. The principle is a broad and basic truth or fact or law that tells us how things work and how things happen. And principles have to be practiced. I tell people that the truth, which the principle is like soap. It doesn't help you unless it's applied.
That's a good point. That's excellent. excellent. One chapter in your book says happiness is a choice. A lot of folks, they don't embrace that. They feel that because certain things happen in their lives, they're unhappy, or perhaps they'd be happier if other events happened in their life that were different than the ones they had. How is happiness a choice?
Well, number one, they think that way because they think happiness is an external condition or based on external conditions. It's not what you have, it's who you are as a person and the lens through which you see life and make sense of life. Our life is composed of our choices, and choices either give consequence or benefits. So when we begin to take responsibility for our choices towards happiness, we begin to experience different outcome in our life.
So what about a person that's had, the worst set of circumstances just happened in their lives? How should they handle that? How can they respond to that? I mean, how can you be happy in the midst of a horrible situation?
Again, happiness is not based on external conditions. Happiness is a state of mind. It's a way of thinking. It's a way of looking and evaluating the things that happen to you in life and finding the silver lining, finding some lesson to be learned, something positive. It really speaks of a way of looking at life that is spiritual, that is transcendent, that there is another dimension of thinking and being that transcends the unfortunate realities of human experience. And if you can tap into that and understand that and begin to live your life accordingly, then it's not that things stop happening to you, but you change in the way you view them and the way you handle them.
So it's not always about changing your circumstances as much as changing your own heart, your own lens, and the way you look at things that are happening in your life.
That's the way I would have said it.
Excellent. You also talk about exploring happiness, and you said the book was intended to help people explore happiness. What do you mean, explore?
Well, each principle in each chapter, each discussion takes the person, the reader, on a journey of discovering things about happiness, looking at happiness in ways that they never imagined you would look at happiness. I mean, just the chapter about evaluating your past looking at your past and making a positive evaluation of it so that you don't become a victim to it, but you become a student of life and you learn from the lessons gathered. We live life either with the pain of regret or the pain of discipline. And when we learn from a positive evaluation of our past experiences, we implement the disciplines in our lives so that we don't have to have that pain of regret.
You know, the word happiness, kin to that word is happenings. So if I'm hearing you right, the happening that needs to make us happy is the happening that happens first on the inside of us.
Absolutely.
More than an event.
Again, it's a state of mind. It becomes the lens through which you make sense of what's happening around you. People, based upon their lens, they can look at catastrophe or tragedy as something that makes them a victim. Their fears, etc. Fear wakes me up. Fear excites me. It causes me to awaken certain gifts and talents and things inside of me that would not ordinarily be awakened by the status quo.
So what's a happiness lens? What might that look like?
Again, it's a positive lens, but it's a realistic lens. Happiness is not denying that tough times happen and that there are challenges in life. Again, it's a way of interpreting these things so that you can get something positive out of it, that you can apply to your life and make your life better.
So happiness is kind of the result of an attitude.
Yeah, and if we understand that attitude is the frame of mind that we have, and I love the word frame because it's really putting things in a certain perspective. And that's what true happiness does. There have been studies, biological studies, that talk about certain chemical reactions that we have in response to external stimuli. And again, what they have found is that regardless of what's happening externally, the interpretation takes place on the inside of a person. You see, it's like the person who is told that they just got a telegram or some notice. Now, if that person is negative, they'll think somebody died, who's sick, what happened.
Sure.
But if that person is positive, they're excited and say, "Gosh, what's coming my way?"
I like what you just said. So frame of mind. So I can frame my mind, but I may not be able to frame my circumstances. But if I frame my mind, that will help me deal with whatever circumstances I may be experiencing in life.
Yeah, and if we understand the essence of prayer, I've heard people say prayer changes things. Well, we must understand that at another level. Prayer changes things by first changing you.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And when you experience a change, then your circumstances begin to change.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You also talk about happiness is learning to accept your past. Unpack that a little bit.
There are people who live in their past. They are imprisoned by that past. They are victims of that past. And as a result, they judge their present and their future through the lens of the past failures that they've experienced, bad relationships, etc. And what that does is close them off to the possibility of something new, something fresh, something wonderful, something good to happen to their lives. So the past should serve as a teacher, an educator, giving us wisdom and insights and knowledge and understanding so that we can apply it to our future, to the choices and the decisions that we're going to make in the future.
So how do we break the power of, say, guilt and shame? Things happen to us and maybe we did some things to other people. It just keeps recurring. I mean, it keeps coming back to our thinking, our thought process. We just can't seem to escape it. What do you recommend that we do?
I will recommend the wonderful gift that Christ gave us in the Gospels. He said, whosoever sins you forgive will be forgiven. Whosoever sins you retain will be retained by you. Forgiveness is a gift that allows us the freedom to move on from bad experiences in the past. Whether it's by our own hand, we must forgive ourselves, or whether it's by someone else's hand, we must forgive them. You can't move on unless you forgive. So forgiveness liberates you. And it's not a one-time thing. It's a way of life. It's a way of thinking. So when you're quick to forgive, remain teachable in life, and quick to repent of your own wrongdoings, you live a life that's quite liberated, that's quite free.
So forgiving people are happy people.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So when
Absolutely.
Jesus teaches us to forgive, he's really teaching us how to be happy.
Yeah, that'll preach.
That's a problem.
And it's so important that you stress that, because Jesus taught another principle. He said, take my yoke upon you, for my yoke is easy. So whatever you're yoked to in life, you carry the burden of. That's why he said, my burden is light. So yoked to him, the burden is lightened. But when you're yoked to other people's sins against you, that's a heavy burden to carry. And quite often, that person's gone on about their business, not even thinking about you, but you're carrying the weight of that sin, and you experience the consequences of that weight.
So forgiveness breaks yokes.
Absolutely.
So if many times we're burdened down and heavy because we have not released certain yokes in our lives, we're bound to people based on our unforgiveness, our unwillingness to release them, and it impacts us in a powerful way.
Absolutely. Relationship is a network for life. Our relationship to God, our relationship to ourselves, our relationship to persons, places, and things. And if we don't carefully evaluate our feelings in those relationships and how we're connected, we can be in bondage to some things.
You know, you talk about learning to interpret our past in a positive way. Now, it's easy to, read that statement in a book. It's easy to even say that we desire to do that. But how do we break some of how do we change this lens? Some people are just prone to looking at things negatively. The cup's half empty instead of half full. How do we change that in ourselves?
Well, if that's what you choose, because happiness is a choice, then that's a career that I wouldn't choose. And it is a career to keep up with negativity, to be miserable all the time, to be miserable all your life. Because what you're doing is the exact opposite of what I'm saying. You're looking for what's wrong. You live a life of suspicion. So you're trying to find what's bad with this, what's wrong with this, what's going to go wrong with this. All right? And, fear is is to the negative what faith is to the positive.
Hi, I'm Dr. Derek Grier. It is indeed an honor for me to come into your home each week and share the gospel of Jesus Christ. I'd like to personally invite you to watch me each Sunday live. Go to gracechurchva.org and click the live stream banner. That's the live stream banner. And through it, you'll be able to participate in our services every Sunday. See you then. God bless you.
In your book, you talk about integrity and happiness being connected. And it kind of seems that the guys that cheat tend to have the most fun and seems to go best for them, at least in our imaginations. Have you found that to be true?
Is sin pleasurable? Yeah, according to the Bible.
Yeah.
And I was talking to someone earlier today when they get up in church and say, I thank and praising God for saving me from a miserable life of sin. I chuckled because I said, obviously these people didn't know how to sin. Because when I sinned, I had fun. It was just a play.
For a season.
Yeah, but it's for a season. It's
Yeah.
temporary. And if you want to really leave a legacy and think beyond your own life and generation, and that's what legacy is all about, then you will think in terms of longevity. And you realize that these things are fleeting and self-destructive. They don't add to your life. They take away from your life. And life is basically boiled down to assets and liabilities. And when you put those together, you have your net worth. And unfortunately, too many people have a negative net worth because they have too many liabilities in their life. And they need to shed them to turn things into a positive living experience.
A lot of people listening would say, integrity is boring. There's just nothing sexy about integrity. Let's live on the wild side. How is integrity exciting?
Well, why can't you be wild and experience and enjoy life and still have integrity? Integrity, honesty is the core of integrity. Integrity is the cornerstone of character. Character becomes the foundation for a stable, consistent, peaceful, and happy society. Home, family, individual. So to eliminate integrity is to eliminate all of the components that work with it as an integrated system, you know. And just on a practical level, and this is no slight to the Chinese, but one of the problems that one of the sneaker companies had, I think it was Reebok, had was that in China they were making knockoffs and selling them and undermining the sales, the profits on that particular sneaker company. So they had to expand their annual budget to include security and fraud and protective measures, which they then gave back to the consumer by increasing the prices of their product. So when you don't have integrity, we all suffer. We all hurt. We're all hitting the pocketbook.
Sure. Would you say that integrity begins with being honest with yourself?
Oh, absolutely.
You can't really be
to
honest
thine
with
own
someone
self
else.
be true,
Yeah,
right?
right.
Yeah. You've got to be honest, transparent with yourself if you're ever going to affect change in your life. You know, because too many people are living a lie.
What would you like your readers to take away from their reading of Happiness Is?
Beginning with that statement that happiness is a choice, that you're not a victim, that you can change your circumstances, you can change your way of thinking, you can change the lens through which you see and understand life, the way you interact with people, the way you interact with yourself, the way you interact with circumstances, that it is in your power to change things. So I hope that at the end of that book, they make a quality decision to begin a new life.
So tell me a little bit about Dr. A.R. Bernard. What were some of the happiest moments in your life?
Gosh, you know, happiness is a continuum for me because it's internal. You know, those external things that make me pleased, that make me proud in a righteous sense, my family, my children, my grandchildren, my work, seeing the lives of people changed for the better.
Sure.
I think that gives me the greatest satisfaction.
Give me some moments where life tried to undermine your happiness the most.
What, you mean yesterday? Every day. Every day.
Good.
Life, you know, it has benefits and it has consequences. Sure. Life has its challenges. Life is both threat and promise. And we live life. There's a beautiful image in the book of Nehemiah where Nehemiah is rebuilding the wall. And because the project was under threat from those who disagreed with the rebuilding of the people of Jerusalem, the life of the Jewish people who were in captivity at the time to Persia. He told the workers, he said, I want you to work with your trowel in one hand and your sword in the other.
So you need to protect your...
You need to build with faith, with confidence.
Right.
But you also need to protect what you're building. And life is both. And there are people who want to build but not protect it. And there are people who want to protect something that they're not building.
Sure.
You've got to do both.
You know, as a pastor, I sit with people all the time and they say, well, if I wasn't married to this man or married to this woman, I'd be a happy person. If I did not have this issue with my child, I would be a happy person.
That's a lie.
Okay.
You're lying to yourself.
How do you...
Doesn't matter who you're married to. Doesn't matter who your children are. You have to make a decision in your own heart and mind. Because think about it, if you backtrack, you thought you would be happy by marrying that person.
Sure.
So it began with an objective towards happiness.
Sure.
Maybe you didn't take enough time to evaluate the choices, the decisions that you're making. Our lives are composed of our choices. We become servant to the choices that we make. Choices have benefits, choices have consequences. And if we don't take time to think through those choices, then we'll continue to make bad choices and add to our miserable life.
So if we don't manage our expectations and begin to realize people cannot make us happy, we have to make a choice to be happy.
Exactly. And you said the word expectation. That's a very good word in this conversation, because disappointment is never based upon what you find. It's always based upon what you expected to find. So are your expectations realistic from the very beginning? Because if they're not, then you're setting yourself up for a big disappointment.
You pastor, I'm a pastor as well. Lots of folks begin a relationship with Jesus Christ, and they expect, once they walk that altar, for their life to magically change. And they often expect life to kind of become just a bed of roses, and God's going to be the Santa Claus that answers every prayer when they pray in the way they want. How would you help a believer manage their expectations with the Father?
Well, first of all, get rid of that myth, because it is a myth, and I'm glad you use mythological persons like Santa Claus.
Sure.
Coming to Christ is experiencing an internal transformation that brings you into contact with the divine. You become connected in a very personal way with God, who is not in your life to take all of the bad things, or what you call bad, because if we ask ourselves what's good, it's quite a subjective answer that we give, because in God's eyes, good is not good unless it's righteous. So what we may think was bad for us can actually be good for us. Case in point, there was a guy young man who received a letter to the draft, but before this is in the days of the draft into the military here in the U.S., but before he received the letter, he was helping his father to fix the roof. He falls off the ladder. He breaks his arm. Bad thing. Week after that, he gets a letter from the draft. He can't go because he broke his arm. Good thing. Right. Life has to be put in perspective when we're calling things good or bad.
Absolutely. That's a powerful analogy. As I'm sitting here, I'm processing and thinking how many times things that were setbacks in my lives was often a setup for something good. Yeah. And looking at things in the short term, we can miss a whole lot. And God's looking at our lives, the long term, looking at from an eternal perspective, and that's amazing. So it sounds like part of being happy is having faith that all things will somehow work together for good.
That's it. That says it. Romans 8:28 says it all. And you have to believe that somehow the divine hand for you is greater than the things that are coming against you. And that somehow, no matter what you go through, ultimately it's going to be to your benefit. And when you're in relationship with someone, you have to believe that they have your best interest at heart. That includes God.
Absolutely. Well, Dr. Bernard, it has been a joy. I've enjoyed this time with you, and I believe our viewing audience has some takeaways today, and I hope they get a copy of your book. And God bless you.
I hope so.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you. It's available on Amazon. They can grab it.
All right. Very good.
Thank you.
You just witnessed a conversation between Dr. Grier and Pastor A.R. Bernard on how to find true happiness by letting go of the past and staying true to the person God designed you to be. Next week, Dr. Grier returns with another life-changing message from the Grace Church Sanctuary. In the meantime, follow us on Facebook and Twitter and visit us at DerekGrier.com to access sermon notes and to learn how you can become a monthly partner and help this ministry continue its work around the globe. Thanks for tuning in. God bless. Are you ready to experience joy in your relationships, career, spiritual walk, and more? Your journey begins with the life-changing conversation you just witnessed between Dr. Grier and Pastor A.R. Bernard on how to obtain true happiness. Call right now to get the full-length version of today's interview for your love gift of any amount. Or for your gift of $30 or more, you'll also receive Pastor Bernard's book, Happiness Is: Simple Steps to a Life of Joy. In this transformative read, you'll discover the exact steps to step into the abundant life God has in store for you. As a part of this special offer, Dr. Grier also wants to send you his dynamic teaching, Joy, which reveals the secret to unlock sustained contentment in your life. This entire collection is yours today for your love gift of only $30. Or you can get the full-length, unedited interview between Dr. Grier and Pastor A.R. Bernard for your love gift of any amount. Experience true happiness in your life starting today. Call now.
From the acclaimed Both Sides Magazine and the Both Sides Live Forum comes the all-new BothSidesMag.com, where thinking people click. Each month, we'll have celebrities and public figures give their thoughts on trending topics. Then leading experts speak out on both sides of the issue. BothSidesMag.com will share the truth in a culturally relevant way and help you balance opposing views in a light of biblical faith. BothSidesMag.com builds a bridge in our divided society. It's BothSidesMag.com, where thinking people click. So click on BothSidesMag.com.
Grace Church, real people, real lives, real change.
Come visit us at Grace Church, where we are real people with real lives, experiencing real change.
Our motto, real people, real lives, real change, is more than just a tagline. If you're a real person experiencing real issues in life and you'd like to experience real change, Grace Church is the place for you.
The next time you're in the Washington, D.C., Northern Virginia area, come visit us at Grace Church, 1006 Williamstown Drive in Dumfries, Virginia. Our services are on Sundays at 8:30 a.m., 10:30 a.m., and 12:30 p.m., and Wednesdays at 7:30 p.m.
Come on out to Grace Church in Dumfries, Virginia, and we have a seat saved just for you.
Grace Church.
My greatest joy in life is helping people live successful lives. I've lived many years of my own with what felt like an invisible force field keeping me back from the things that I knew that God had for me. Though in this series, I'm going to tell you a story of an unnamed man in the Gospels, this narrative is really about my own personal journey from my own areas of paralysis to success. The goal of Growth on the Go is to give you powerful, life-changing tools in a quick and easy to understand format that I believe can really help you change your life. All of this is designed to help you break through the barriers that keep you out of what God, I believe, has for you.
If you would like to take your life through the roof, go to DerekGrier.com. That's DerekGrier.com for this free 5-part coaching session.